This is your urgent call to action. We are all called to lead in a world in chaos, crisis, and turmoil. Join a pivotal global movement for change to transform the leadership crisis worldwide. Will you play it safe, or will you wake up, step up, and speak out? Like Nelson Mandela did for South Africa and the world, we need a radical new way to think, act, and lead, leading boldly into the future. Join host Ann Pratt, a Harvard Fellow and multi-awarded businesswoman, and unlock the best version of yourself to revolutionize leadership with what the world needs now.
Greetings to all you future bold leaders. Thank you for joining us from around the world. My name is Ann Pratt, formerly from South Africa, and I relocated abroad to attend a Harvard Leadership Fellowship in beautiful Boston in the United States of America. Our thoughtful bold leader today joins us from Kabwe in Zambia, a landlocked country resource-rich with rugged terrain in Southern Africa. She is an academic trailblazer who drives transformation from the head to the heart to the hands, and has lived, taught, and worked in multiple African countries and in the United States of America. She has 2 master's degrees, a master's in science from the University of Southern Florida, a master's in business administration from Ball State University in Indiana, and a doctorate in business leadership from the University of South Africa. She spent 18 years at the University of South Africa, initially as executive director and deputy dean for the Graduate School of Business Leadership, and then was the first female and the first Black executive dean of UNISA's College of Economics and Management Sciences, the largest on the African continent. She is also the first vice chancellor in her home country, Zambia. She served as vice chancellor of 2 universities concurrently. At Mulungushi, she transformed the university from being virtually unknown into being the university of choice. She is frequently interviewed in the media, has received multiple awards, including Africa's Most Influential Woman in Business and Government Africa Award, the 2017 African Continent Lifetime Achiever Award, and Zambia's Public Service Excellence Award. She has also served on multiple boards, committees, and councils, including holding the position as vice chair of the Bank of Zambia. Stay tuned as she shares with us the relationship between success, sustainability, and greed. What went wrong? What is the missing link? And the need for a rare new model of leadership. We warmly welcome Professor Dr. Hellicy Ng'ambi, and welcome to Leading Boldly into the Future. Hellicy, I am so excited. At last, we're back together, and I'm so looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you for making this possible.
Thank you so very much, Annie. I really appreciate it that you could invite me to have this conversation. I'm excited about it, and I thank you.
You're an expert in leadership, not only in terms of your own career, but also in terms of the work you have taught at various universities in Zambia and also in South Africa. Could we begin with, how do you define leadership?
To me, I would describe it. I'll say leadership is more about you having positive influence on others, wanting them to draw into a shared vision. So I define leadership in such a way that I'm saying it is you in inspiring other people to achieve their goals, not just their own, but shared with you.
Yes.
Organizational goals shared with, yes. So I define it in terms of sharing, and you inspiring them. That it's not about you, it's about the people you are inspiring. And so when I define it formally, I put all those aspects in together to indicate that a leader is only a leader because they have got followers.
Yes.
And those followers must find their space in the vision of the organization, in the vision of the country, at whatever level They must find their space. So it must be a shared kind of vision. And so when you inspire them, it's not just inspiring them so that they can achieve your goals, but they can also become the best they can ever be to achieve their full potential. So that's how I kind of, define it.
You are a remarkable person who's had a remarkable life. You've had some challenging childhood beginnings. What in your young life, Hellicy, was particularly difficult for you? Can you describe a particular event? How did you feel at the time? And what was your light bulb moment?
In my childhood, I was brought up in a very rural area, remote Zambia, in the northern part of Zambia. The place is called, the specific place is called Chakosamoto village, the village basically. And it's Mafinga district, Chief Chifungwe. That's where I was born. And in this place, there were no schools nearby. It was very far. The schools were very far. And so to start school, you had to either, go into a weekly boarding or go somewhere where you have got relatives who can keep you near the school. In as much as the first grade, I had to go to Malawi, because that's where my grandmother was. My mother's mother comes from Malawi.
Yes.
So I had to go the first grade. But unfortunately, we had smallpox broke out, a pandemic like this one. So in Zambia, so the Malawians blocked Zambians from going there at that time. So we had to stop. And in that weekly boarding school where I was going, it was very far. We probably about 40 to 50 kilometers walking distance. And then in between the school and our village, there was a very big river called Vemba. And that river is wide. So when you are crossing, if it rains upstream, you can be in the middle of the river and the water can sweep you off. And quite a number of children going to school died, unfortunately. And so parents in the village, most of them decided they are going to stop their girl child from going to school. Only the boy will continue going to school. So there was that choice. Then my dad, Bikam Chakosamoto Ng'ambi, said, wait a minute, here you can see that your friends are not going to go to school because of the dangers, the risks involved. Now you have a choice. At that very young age, he asked me, you have a choice. If you also are scared and you don't think you can manage, you can take this risk, don't go to school and join the others, but look at auntie so-and-so, that is going to be your life, or grandmother so-and-so, that is going to be your life. And of course, the grandmother so-and-so had no education, good living. So I thought, wait a minute. I looked, I said, no, I think I'll take a chance. And then he said, you can also come and even help us should you take a risk and maybe complete your education or something like that. I said, I'll take a risk. So I started taking risk. And that is one of the things I never forget, because if I had decided I was not going to go with, I was not going to be bold enough to go ahead, I was just going to join the crowd and say, I'm also not going to go to school, I wouldn't be here today. So I remember that, and I'm very grateful to my late father for that advice that he gave me and that choice that he gave me, and enabled me to take that bold decision. We even started at that early age to actually come together, 3-4 people. We said, let's cook together, because we used to go and fetch our own firewood. We used to go and fetch our own water. There were no beds there. There's no water. There was no electricity. It was just given an empty room. You started using paraffin, put in a bottle and all that. So it was those things that I never, when I look back, I say, wow, I never forget that, because I think somehow surviving that, when you look back now, say, how did I do it?
Fast forward, what's intriguing for me is that early choice of taking that risk and deciding that you wanted to be a young girl who obtained an education. You then made education a core center of your life. I'm struck by the remarkable accomplishments you've had. I know at UNISA, the University of South Africa, you were executive director of the Graduate School of Business. And then, of course, you were the first Black female vice chancellor of Malungushi University in Zambia. I'm curious, Malungushi University at the time, when you became Vice Chancellor, was virtually unknown, but you then transformed it into a university of choice. I'm also aware that at the time, I think it was around 15% in government funding that, the university received. So you had to be pretty innovative and pioneering in how to reposition this university from being virtually unknown to being financially sustainable and becoming a university of choice. Can you take us back, Hellicy, to a time that was really difficult when you assumed that vice chancellorship position? What was that time? What was the big challenge? What was the difficulty?
When I went there, when I went to the university, I thought there was a library. I thought there was, lecture theaters, laboratories, buildings that had started in 2008. I assumed that job in 2012 and had not even been completed. One of the challenges that I had was to look for funding, part of that from the government, because Mulungushi University is a public university owned by the government, but they decided to use kind of a private school kind of model, to say that self-funding, self-financing. So you are right, it was only 15%, almost up to date, still 15% that the government, gives the university. I had to go to the government. The Minister of Finance knew me by name. He was actually reporting to work at 07 hours. It was Honorable Chikwanda. And before 07 in the morning, 7 a.m. in the morning, I would be at his office coming from Kabwe, which is about almost 1.5 to 2 hours drive.
Wow.
So he would be very surprised to the point that he would say, maybe I should give you an office there. But I was there quite often following up on that. We had to go into some activities, some agriculture, activities to raise, funding for the university. Commercial, we're running some, chalets, chalets like self-catering. Yes. We started running
like accommodation.
So we started accommodating people when they want to have conferences. And start, raising funds so that we can be able to build some, infrastructure. So we ended up, having, when I went there was only 4 schools. We ended up, by the time I was going, with about 8 something. And of course, we had to rearrange some of the things, restructure, merge some aspects and all that, to make sure that we can sustain ourselves, that we are able to use our resources to ensure that the university and everybody and every stakeholder, benefits from this university, and it goes forward, it grows and sustains itself. So we ended up with the School of Medicine, and we built that school with our own resources, without government support. We finished off the library, the state lecture theaters. We equipped our laboratories with our own funding. Yes, so all these, are things that we did. We even had the first, what we call moot court, a court. It was for law students. You see, we always took advantage of whatever it is we had. It was for law students, but we also opened it up for the court sessions. We even built a holding room so that if they come with prisoners, they can hold them there and things like that. So we had to be very innovative, build restaurants and things like that. We even had one of our School of Medicine in Livingstone. We went to Livingstone. Is not in Zambia. It's near Victoria Falls.
Yes.
So there it was also saying, look, we have got so many neighboring countries: Zimbabwe, Namibia, South Africa, Botswana. So we drew from that as well for them, so we can service them as well. So it was quite a number of initiatives that business incubators that brought us, the funding that helped us, to build this university. And also we introduced certain kind of aspects. One of the most things that was talked about was introducing a course, a signature course as well, that talked about values within, society, because we realized that people can be very intelligent, but most of the thieves and sophisticated people who do all sorts of things are very intelligent, but without values, you cannot sustain yourself. So we introduced that as well within the course, and that was a compulsory course as well, to say every student that comes here will take a course on how, to sustain yourself, sustaining behaviors, including rare values, responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical values. So, and I was also, as a vice chancellor, in as much as vice chancellor, I don't teach. I was also teaching, helping the teaching on that particular module, just to enforce the importance of values. So we did quite a lot of things.
I mean, that's a wonderful segue, Hellicy, because, to your point, I know that you've said that education without values will not sustain success. I also know, I think at UNISA, at the University of South Africa, you introduced a course called Sustainability and Greed. So this is clearly something really important to you.
Yes.
And in terms of the relationship, the fact that this was a signature course is significant. Can you share with us, how would you talk about the relationship between success, sustainability, and greed? In your mind, what do you think the relationship is? How would you define success? Let's begin there.
To me, success is about achieving goals, objectives that will add value to people that you work with, the stakeholders, both internal and external, that will improve their livelihood.
Okay.
And improving their livelihood, not just today, but sustain that. That's why now we come sustaining, meaning it's continuous.
Yes.
I improve, I do something to make sure the next person who is going to come will also do better than I did and improve and continue to pass on that baton. That comes in as sustainability.
Yeah.
Because if whatever I'm doing today is only for me today and I destroy what could sustain another person tomorrow, then I'm not emphasizing on success nor on sustainability.
Yes.
Only if whatever I'm doing today, I'm ensuring that it's sustaining everybody, but also whoever is going to come after me, it can sustain them and they can learn from that and do the same and sustain the others. Then we are passing on the success and the sustainable baton to each other. Whether in everything that we are doing, the environment, in the class, in terms of organization, whatever it is we are doing, whether you are manufacturing, wherever you are saying, what I'm doing today, am I helping somebody today? Am I equipping them for them to be able to come and help someone tomorrow who can also help whoever is going to come after them?
Yeah.
Because then we're talking about sustainability.
Why did you call the course at the University of South Africa Sustainability and Greed?
Well, the greed part came in because at that time, as you recall, there was an economic meltdown as well. And at that time, there was also that aspect of, people can become very greedy, right? But if you were to use that greed of getting something to help another person, you can actually end up sustaining. But if you use that greed for yourself in the way that we traditionally define greed, then you will be destructive and will not sustain anything or anyone or the future.
What's interesting about that is I know you've also made reference to the fact that Africa as a continent is resource rich, and yet as a continent, it's also very poor for its average citizen. And I guess part of that for you, can you talk to us about your concern around why is Africa sitting in this kind of conflicted, paradoxical situation?
Yeah, in fact, even when I was doing when I went to do my second master's at the University of South Florida, where I also taught, what prompted me to do that was I started reflecting. I thought it does not make sense. Yeah. We have so much, so resources that basically to a greater extent sustains the whole global village. And yet we are so poor literally in every other aspect. What is happening? Yeah. I realized that there was something that was lacking, something missing, a missing link.
Yeah.
And I realized that missing link, we became somehow intoxicated. We became toxic, in other words. And somewhere the greed also came in. Somewhere we lost the values of valuing each other. So we no longer wanted each and every person or all the resources entrusted to us to benefit the continent and our organizations.
Yeah.
It started, I want them for me.
Yeah.
And those that support me or sing praise songs for me. So then it was easier for us to start now selling, even at a very low cost to what we have, our resources, and not wanting to say, how can we use it to emancipate the continent and the people of Africa?
Yeah.
And one of the things is division. I think part of it, tribalism, of course, there's racism, there's whatever the isms came in. And we started now even fighting each other instead of uniting and working together as a continent. Well, that failed as well. And then, of course, there was the aspect of the apartheid and slavery. But even that, it didn't matter who offered us what. We should have been able to say, no, this is my child, this is my brother, I cannot sell them. But somehow our values became debased. I know there were many factors, okay, I understand that. Factors in terms of like apartheid, slavery, the history of slavery. I mean, everybody knows how it started, and people in Africa not having reached a certain level of development at that time, and having certain kind of ideologies, being taught that actually to be better you have to do, you have to have this, you have to do that. Some of the things that, yes, they were not necessarily making people better, but greedy and self-centered. Because anything that anybody offers you that tells you you have to kill another person to be better, it doesn't sustain you. Or you have to destroy another person, you have to pull them down or something like that. It cannot be sustained. So those are some of the aspects that I'm saying that, yes, there are many others. There were economic factors, there were political factors, there were pressures, there were wars, there were what. But at the end of it all, if we had kept our strong values, and said, it doesn't matter, I'd rather die, then probably the story would have been different.
Many would say that we have an accountability crisis in the world, that we are not truly holding people responsible and accountable for their misdemeanors or wrongdoings. And we all make mistakes. We know that. I'm curious, your wonderful work on rare turtle leadership, you authored that book with using the rare model, with R being for responsibility, A for accountability, R for relevance, and E for ethics. Could you perhaps talk to us why you put together those 4 elements? That's the first question. But then I'd like you to zoom in on the issue of accountability and your thoughts around accountability, and is it or is it not working in the world today?
To start with, and you need to, when you are entrusted with your resources, I mean, all of us are.
Yeah.
In an organization at every level, you have the people, you have the other, financial resources, you have the material resources entrusted to you. If you are going to use those resources only with the question, what am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
As the number 1 reason or criteria, you are going to lose it. You have to first ask the question, how am I going to make the people around me better, more productive, more relevant themselves, fulfill their full potential in increasing productivity? How am I going to use these resources, human resources, all this, to do that?
Yeah.
So that this organization that I'm entrusted with and the people with it become better, more productive, and can reflect and say, look at who I have become. I never imagined I could be at this level.
Yeah.
That should be, if that is your focus, then you are being responsible. And you can hold yourself also accountable for the resources entrusted to you. Accountability is very critical. Because if you are not accountable, can you imagine what you would be able to do. Whatever they entrust with you, maybe with a 1 billion, you start thinking of where you can go for vacations, how you can start making up some trips. So because in Zambia, for example, they get allowances. If you go anywhere, you get a night allowance. So, for example, there's a workshop, right?
Yeah.
And that, whatever, not just in Zambia, there are many countries.
Sure.
You go out, when you go, you sleep outside your house. You will get an allowance. They will pay for your accommodation, feed you, and give you an allowance.
They're not going for business reasons. They're motivated to go for personal reasons, but put it down as a business trip. And
yes, the major, quite a number of the people, the major, and this is not unique to Zambia. It's quite a number of other. I've found out quite a number of other countries. So the major reason they will be wanting to go and have a retreat or have a workshop or have a team, whatever. I'm not saying that those are wrong. No, I'm saying if the motive for going there is allowances, then when they are there, the emphasis, their mindset, whatever they are going to do, is not going to be saying, how can we achieve the objectives, the vision, the goals? They are more, as long as I've got an allowance.
Yeah, it's a different motivation. It's a different motivation.
Yes. So as a result, accountability becomes a challenge, not only at organizational level, at national level.
How would you define accountability, and where do you think it goes wrong at a national or an organizational level?
If you yourself, you don't hold yourself answerable for those resources, and no one else holds you accountable or answerable for those resources, very few people are rare enough, as I'll call it, to say, I will be honest in my dealings and continue to be responsible. They will just squander them. So you need to learn how to hold yourself responsible and accountable. And what I call relevant, always wanting to add value and ethical in your conduct if you are going to sustain whatever it is that you are doing. The problem at the continent as Africa is that, yes, there are many initiatives. I know quite a number of those to unite the continent, to even have maybe one currency, to have one passport and things like that, to hold each other accountable. But it hasn't happened up to today. We still don't have a proper, workable mechanism to hold each other accountable and say what you have done is wrong and these are the consequences, because there must be consequences. If there are no consequences, it's just on paper, and nobody will respect that. So there must be certain clear, implementable consequences, be it in an organization or at national level or at continental level, to say, if we agree on 1, 2, 3, 4, you don't do this, this will be the consequences, negative consequences that will hinder them from being not accountable.
Some people would argue, Hellicy, that there are consequences, and that if there is wrongdoing, people get reprimanded, or there is some kind of suffering or consequence for wrongdoing or poor, bad behavior. If you were designing a system of accountability, what would be the critical aspects of that system to ensure that the accountability model works?
That's a good question. You're saying that people get reprimanded. Let me just illustrate a little bit further. If you were working, there was no governance whatsoever. You had no board. You had no nobody to answer to. There's no clear to say, let me just put this, if you steal, we'll put you in prison or we'll ask you to pay back. If that was not there, wouldn't we just anybody do whatever they want to do?
Sure.
So what I'm saying is that, yes, people they can say they get reprimanded. How many presidents, let's start at that level, have been really reprimanded? They only get reprimanded after they are all set out. By that time, they have already destroyed everything. If we had a system where we say, we have a pair mechanism, which is, by the way, Africans have already started working on.
Yeah.
We will be, every year we will have got some kind of a performance management system in continental level, national level, at whatever level. If that year we see that you have not cut down on corruption, you have not cut down on the bribery, you have not cut down on levels of and you have not done anything. You have not shown us anything that you have done to cut down levels of unemployment.
Yeah.
You have not put anything down to resolve conflicts, destructive conflicts.
Yeah.
Then we are going to remove you from sharing these resources that we have been sharing as a region. You will isolate you. Whatever it is that I'm not saying that whatever it is they decide to, but there should be something that you can measure, that you can say, at this level, this person has done 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they don't do it, then this will be the consequences. Then the behavior can be corrected sooner than after they have served 10 years of. In the meantime, the whole country is done. The organization is gone. And all that.
So it's a more immediate system of regular performance management.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if you leave it too long, it will be, you start now, we'll always be in a repair mode. We need a performance management system. Both at University of South Africa, actually, even at Graduate School of Business Leadership, we started that, and it spread out to the whole university. We started, a integrated management performance system, and we had people there, who worked with that system. Every quarter, you have little feedback. Every mid-year, you have a proper feedback. End of the year, you must assess the whole year.
Yeah.
Those that did not perform, there were some penalties. Penalties included, if there was a performance bonus, there was no performance bonus for you. Your contract, can be, terminated sooner than later. So depending on the damage that has been done. So in that regard, even at Mlungushu University, we introduced integrated performance management system for the first time. And so we're again evaluating that performance. And once people know, because sometimes people don't know what to do. So maybe that's why they fail. So if at least they can know what they're aiming for.
What is it about the whole model that you've put together? I mean, if we look at RARE as your model, why are those 4 factors equally important in the model?
Oh, yes. Yes. Those 4 factors, if you think about it, the reason I call them even principle-based, they're like more principles, but they're also values. I say principle-based value system, leadership value system, because they are principle-based in that, one, everybody knows that you need to be responsible. It's just like if I said, if you take somebody's item without asking for their permission, that's theft, and that is everywhere. If you approve your own leave, for example, not your boss, but you approve your own leave and approve your own loan, that is wrong everywhere. That's why I put it in a principle.
Sure.
So responsibility is universal. It's critical. You cannot sustain anything if you're not responsible for whatever is given to you at any level, be it in the house, be it at school, be it in the community, be it anywhere. If you are not responsible for what you have entrusted to you, it cannot be sustained.
Yeah.
You cannot, if you're not accountable, definitely, you cannot sustain. If you're not relevant, always asking if you're adding value in whatever you're doing, it cannot be sustained. You just talk integrity, you just talk zero corruption, but you are the most corrupt person. People still do what you do, not what you say.
Sure.
So those 4 things, being responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical, are values to me that are critical, because you cannot kill another person if you are rare. You cannot want to steal from another person. They say PhD syndrome, pull her down or pull her down or pull him down syndrome, as they call it, PhD syndrome. You cannot do that. Your success will be reflected in the success of your followers and those you have mentored and coached.
Yes.
You feel good that way if you're a rare person. So that's why those 4 pillars to me are very critical for sustainability.
Yeah.
Because you can be intelligent, you can come up with all sorts of creative ideas, but if you cannot be able to be responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical in your conduct, you will self-destruct, or you will cut yourself short, one or the other. It will backfire on you, and you will not be able to sustain it. So and that's at every level, whether it's in the home. You know, the rate of divorce is so high in the homes. Why? You know, I mean, children are on all sorts of things. I mean, they are doing all sorts of, I mean, if a 6-year-old child, who just happened to 2 weeks ago, some weeks ago, can take a 6-year-old child can take a gun and shoot
a teacher. Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly,
it's tragic.
That is tragic.
It is.
What could have happened? Something that at my age I could never even imagine of doing.
Yeah.
But now it's like our values are getting more debased as we go on, instead of having more, you know, better, moral, ethical values.
Yeah. So, you know, if we look at the world as it is today, and what are the biggest threats and challenges facing the world today, Hellicy, in your mind, if you had to just summarize what those are? Clearly, the question of ethics and values is one of them. I know you're very passionate about that. But if you had to summarize what you think the current biggest threats are for this time, what?
Well, I mean, the normal one that we talk about, the normal threats. I mean, the normal threats,
and not only threats,
talk
but
about
the challenges and opportunities. I mean,
challenges and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, the normal. I mean, challenges. Let me say the normal 21st challenges that we talk about. Usually, we talk about the VUCA. You know, the volatility.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
specifically, I'm saying
uncertainty. Okay. So specifically, you are saying apart from values.
Yeah.
I think apart from the debased values, I think specifically, I can say the level of inequality. By that, I'm talking about poverty. Inequality that breeds about poverty. That is a big challenge.
Yeah.
The level of unemployment. As you know, I live in South Africa and Zambia. Those are my 2 countries. If you talk about, for example, South Africa, I mean, you look at the level of unemployment right now, 34, almost 35%. The level of poverty right now, we're talking about almost 56, 55 point something, or 56%. It shouldn't be like that. So those are the immediate challenges that any person faces. Is how do I sit here, eat what I'm eating, enjoy what I'm enjoying, when 55% of my neighbors or whatever are living in poverty, are unemployed. You know, they don't even know where the next meal of bread is going to come from. What is happening? What is happening with the resources that I have? That honestly, I can fail to feed, even give one bread, a loaf of bread to everybody in the country, or in the home, or in the community.
Yeah. They
are immersed by a few people, be it in Africa or anywhere else.
Yeah.
So the challenge is we don't know how to share, and we don't know how to equip others to be independent. By sharing, I'm not talking about just sharing, I give them bread. I must also teach them how to bake that, to come up with that bread. I must teach them not just to give them a mango, but how a mango is grown, so that they can have their own mangoes.
Yes.
I must teach them the skills and the competences to emancipate them from, you know, the poverty and the employment. I should also teach them that employment is not just about you going to be employed by another person. You can be self-employed at whatever level you are, if you have the appropriate skills. So the skills becomes very critical to me. Teaching people appropriate skills, competences, attitudes, and values are very critical to me. Yeah. So I think those, I would say, you know, those aspects to me are very close to my heart. To say they are very critical if we're going to change anything, you know, in this world and sustain it, even in Africa itself.
Just briefly, where do you think it went wrong?
I have been trying to do the study on that, to say, I've really been trying to find out what went wrong. Somewhere, I think the understanding to be well off, to be better off, got marred up into something else. I know from the tribal wars that could have, also, added to that.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, the effects of apartheid and that could all have played a role in corrupting the original African.
Absolutely. I mean, there are incredible, remarkable change makers across the continent. And let's talk about one of them. Both of them we both admire, Nelson Mandela. For you, Hellicy, of course, he has been a rare leader. And a remarkable champion of change, not only for Africa, but for the world. Can you take us back to a very specific moment that you recall, a date, a time, a place, a Mandela moment, where Mandela, something he said or did, stood out, inspired you, shaped you, helped you become the remarkable woman you are today?
Well, thank you very much. Actually, Mandela did a lot for me in terms of inspiring me.
Yeah.
The one specific one that I recall very well was on the 16th of September, 16th of September, 1995. Yeah, 16th of September, 1995. He came, he was being given a doctorate at the University of South Africa. And I had heard him talking, many times, and I'd listened to his speeches and all that. But when he was in his acceptance speech, I really got so motivated. At that time, I had not yet done my second master's.
Yeah.
I had not yet done my doctorate.
Yes.
Just seeing him there, receiving, his honorary degree, doctorate, having studied through UNISA as well, whilst in prison.
Yes.
The determination that he had, the humility, and some of his sayings, like him saying, I'm trying to recall one that has always, been in my mind, is one of the most difficult things is not that you change society. It's not to change society, but to change yourself.
Yeah.
That resonated with me so much.
Yes.
To change yourself. Because if I don't change, I can talk about being rare. If I don't try, I do my best to practice rare values, I cannot change anyone. I cannot change society. I cannot change any institution. When people look at Hellicy Ng'ambi, they must see this Hellicy Ng'ambi who is responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical in all her conduct, in her interactions. They should see that. So when he said that, I had not yet even come up with this rare,
Did he inspire that? What was his speech?
Yes,
acceptance speech.
That speech is it inspired me a lot. And also another thing is, for for not being bitter as a leader.
Yeah.
Not being bitter. When he said, when I walked out the door
towards the gate, that would lead to my freedom.
Yes.
I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison.
Exactly. That really touched me as well. To say, we keep ourselves in prison.
We keep ourselves
when we think we are free.
How did you feel that day you listened to him?
I was like, whoa, wow. Bitterness, you are gone. Help me, Lord. I said, help me, Lord. I don't want to be bitter anymore. I don't want to witch hunt anymore. I'm going to focus on how I can build other people. I can add value. I can have this vision that takes everybody. I can focus on emancipation. Mandela focused on making sure South Africans are free, be it black, white, whatever, colored, everybody free and working together, just like Martin Luther King. So to me, it was like, let me not waste time. If you are driving and you are looking backwards, you cause an accident.
Of course.
If you are walking, of course, you must just be focused. There will be people who will be saying all sorts of things, but be focused and go on. And and learn to be resilient as well, because people will try to mess you up. Bounce back.
Do you think Mandela's leadership example is relevant today? And if so, why?
Well, I think it's relevant today because the leadership style of Mandela was building. It was the building, it was uniting, it was using resources for development, for helping everybody, for emancipating, for destroying poverty and destructive conflicts. So it's very relevant today. Look at the level of conflict today, everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah.
It has escalated. It's shocking.
It is.
You hear people, the country's killing what? You see the war in Ukraine and what, you hear every single time you turn on the TV or radio, anywhere else, it's always about violence.
Yeah.
It's always about somebody's wanting to kill somebody wanting to destroy another person, somebody wanting to grab something from another person. It's always that. So if there was any time when Mandela's leadership approach was relevant, it's now. Because we really need to say, look at what he did. He could have thrown all the whites in the sea. He could have chased them out. He could have say, look, you kept me in prison. What I will get you. And where would South Africa be today? It will be destroyed completely. In as much as there's still challenges there, but at least Mandela, we have an example in Mandela that we can follow. His leadership style, his humility, his love for people, his love for development, his love for a better future. It's amazing. If it doesn't inspire you, inspire anyone, I don't know what would inspire them.
And I love your passion, Hellicy, and it warms my heart because, like you, I feel that inspiration. Just shifting slightly, some fun facts about you. What is what is your favorite thing to do in your downtime? You've had a very demanding career. You've been, you deserve, it's a well-deserved sabbatical. What is your favorite thing to do in your downtime to recharge?
I walk a little bit, but the thing that I like dancing.
Dancing.
I can put a video something all by myself. Yes. And just dance.
What do you dance to? What kind of music do you dance to?
I dance to different music, but most of the music that I dance to is more like gospel kind of music. So
yes.
It's a gospel kind of music that I dance to. But I there's a good beat in some very nice gospel music. I'll put it there and just sing along. I'm not really a singer. But I sing along and dance by myself. And
that's wonderful.
And I like meeting people as well. I enjoy meeting people and socializing. I enjoy that. I'm definitely not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. So
yes.
So I like socializing as well. But in my own time, I just like singing and dancing. And I walk sometimes. As I'm walking, I'm singing. And
yes,
I walk and I sing. And
that sounds so joyful. Another fun fact: your time in the United States. What did that mean to you?
I think it exposed me a lot, especially in terms of culture differences, diversity. I was really exposed a lot. First in Indiana is, it's like more reserved. Florida was a little bit more different there. People are more open to a lot of things. In Oregon State, that's where I was at Willamette. It was a very it's closed kind of community, but it taught me how to be flexible.
And the third fun fact I'd like to know about you, how many siblings did you have? And as a woman, what has been your biggest secret to crashing through these glass ceilings?
Okay, in terms of the siblings, together we were 12. My mother had 3 sets of twins, but 3 passed on a little bit earlier. So 9 of us grew together. But most of them are gone now. We are only 6 of us remaining. And mostly the girls that are remaining, the boys seem to have wanted to go very fast.
What is
got
it
a big family.
in being a woman?
So you said the other part is
the secret of crashing through the glass
of crashing the
as
ceiling.
a woman.
I do my best to be very positive and non-violent in my response to discrimination.
How has it shaped you being a member of the royal family in Zambia?
My dad, who was Chabasamoto the first, and also member of the senior chiefs. My dad used to say that I'm in this village and I can't go to any other village. It's voluntary. So if you don't care about the people, they can leave the village and you can be all by yourself and it will no longer be a village. Your village headmanship or chieftains depends on these people who volunteer to be with you. Whatever you know or you don't know, only when you care for them, they will appreciate you.
Yeah.
And they will stay with you and they'll stick it out with you.
Yeah.
So it's very important that wherever you are, ensure that people don't care. You ensure that you remember people don't care how much you know until they know that you care. And they will stick out with you.
Yeah.
So don't look down on anybody. Don't think that anyone is less important or have no value. Each and every person that is with you has a value in your life. And so you must also make sure you add that value to other people wherever you are, at whatever level, whether you're at the top or at the bottom. Even if you're cleaning, don't clean because somebody's looking at you. Clean because you know that's the right thing to do.
Hellicy, thank you so much. In our final closing moments, any final thoughts around the future of leadership? Any message to our generation and the next? And any final thoughts you think that Nelson Mandela would say to the leaders of Africa and the world today?
I think he would say, you people.
He would say,
grow up. You people grow up and start thinking of other people if you want to be better. Okay. I think that, the future of leadership, you really need to be bold. You need to be bold and enough to say no to anything.
Yeah.
And anyone that holds back development and emancipation for all. We need to say no. If we don't say no, we'll be going round and round. We need to say no to toxic behaviors. We really need to say no to all these vices, the conflicts and all that. We need to say no. Let's start being a people that care for each other and all what is entrusted to us. Because even God himself, when he put us here, he said we should be able to take care of the resources given to us. Can we at least answer that call of taking responsibility and being accountable for what is entrusted to us?
Yeah.
Of adding value and being ethical in all what we do. Can we just do that? Can we just be rare to the future leaders? Can we just be rare? Let's be responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical. From the house to the schools, to the institutions, to the organization, to the top, to the nation, to the continent, to the global village. Can we just be rare and sustain ourselves and our futures?
Well, to my rare and wonderful friend, thank you so much, Hellicy. Thank you for sharing your passion, your vision, your knowledge, and your rare capabilities and principles with the world. So grateful for you.
Thank you so very much, Anne, for having me. I really appreciate it. It has been such an honor for me. I'm humbled that I could be part and parcel, of really your programs and the great work that you are doing. Thank you so very much for making me part of that family. I really feel valued. I really feel appreciated. And I say thank you so very much for involving me in this work and in this great, wonderful family that is future looking and always looking towards sustainability. Thank you.
Most, if not all of us, want successful, meaningful, and prosperous lives. It's an interesting observation that the African continent is so resource rich and still so poor. So what happened? What went wrong? What is the missing link? Corruption worldwide, fueled by greed and self-serving interests, undermines economic development. It intensifies poverty, inequality, social unrest, and the environmental crisis. This challenge, this story, is not unique to Africa. Worldwide, we have witnessed a frenzy of people wanting to make the quick, fast buck, wanting the rapid rise to the top, no matter how they get there, and all in search of personal fame, fortune, and power. But at what cost? And significantly, will greed and self-serving interests deliver sustainable success? Professor Dr. Hellicy Ng'ambi and her rare total leadership model helps us dig deeper. So what is rare? It's being responsible, accountable, relevant, adding value, and ethical. Expanding a little more, if we think about being responsible, there's no free ride in this journey of life. At birth, we are gifted with free natural resources, the air that we breathe, the oceans we swim in, and the mountains we climb. We each have a duty, a responsibility to be more, to do more, and to give back to our communities and to the world. Being accountable keeps us honest. It is a performance management incentive system, if you like. For every choice, there's a consequence. The critical questions are, what behaviors do we measure, reward, and punish? Does the reward and punishment align with what truly motivates or disincentivizes people? And is there sufficient consequence for the reward for good behavior or the punishment for bad behavior? When people do things well, when they behave well, do we applaud, award, and publish? And if so, where and how often? And if the cost of doing wrong is less than the cost of doing business, we are not holding people accountable. When it comes to ethical issues, there are critical questions too. Why do good people go bad? Why is moral courage not enough? How do we fortify our moral courage? The work and the insights from our dear friend, Professor Dr. Hellicy Ng'ambi, reveals that greed will trip us up, that in order to sustain success, as she has done in her remarkable life, it requires rare leaders, responsible, accountable, relevant, who add value, and ethical. And you too can be a rare leader and achieve sustainable success. So until next time, remember that leading boldly is about making thoughtful, clear choices. And bold leadership is about taking bold action, just one small step at a time, one step for you, but together, a giant step for humanity. So come back soon, share with your friends, and join this global leadership movement for change. Why? Because the world needs you to lead boldly too. Take care and take thoughtful, bold action.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leading Boldly into the Future. Please find links and connections mentioned in this show in our blog, and never miss an episode by subscribing at anne-pratt.com. That's ANNE-PRATT.com. May these insights from inspiring industry leaders, remarkable disruptors, and courageous champions of change bring forth a brand new you, emboldened, empowered, and ready to inspire hope. Come back soon, share with your friends, Sign up on ann-pratt.com and join our movement for change. Why? Because the world needs you to lead boldly too.